Donald Trump tried everything he possibly could to overturn the results, legally and illegally, of the 2020 election. The fact is, he lost fair and square. Many of the same people who say that the election was rigged against Trump say that the election where he won was completely fair, and the reason we know it was a fair election is because Trump won. The people who think this way are clearly just pro-Trump, whether they realize it or not. I don't really know how to reach people like that, but a lot of them do exist. Nonetheless, though, now that Trump has taken office, a lot of initiatives that were made after the 2020 election when Biden was in office to investigate the Republicans' culpability in the literal insurrection attempt on our Capitol, an attempt to take hostage and kill elected representatives because they were going to certify an election they didn't like. Now we've got that same candidate, now president, looking to invoke the Insurrection Act on people protesting him, and his supporters are defending it, the same people who claim J6 wasn't an insurrection. It clearly, truly is a time of Republicans just defending Republicans because they're Republicans. And the most blatant example of this, and a very clear attempt to cover up and distract from the Epstein files and the fact that Trump is in them, along with tons of other Republicans, is this move they've made to shut down and expose a criminal investigation into an array of Republicans, companies said Republicans own, and a bunch of other affiliated entities into their culpability in organizing and encouraging an insurrection on the Capitol that, if successful, would have successfully led to the deaths of several elected representatives and the overturning of the fair election results. This is a crime, and all those Republicans publicly supported that crime. That's already guilty enough, but if they publicly supported it, there's a good chance that behind the scenes they might have helped organize it, because we know J6 had organizers, perhaps even some in the government, and it was the goal of the DOJ to investigate this and try and figure out if there was some fishy stuff going on. Well, this Arctic Frost investigation has been exposed, quote-unquote, by the Trump administration as a distraction from the Epstein files, and they are now trying to claim that this is blatant evidence of the Democrats engaging in illegal lawfare against Republicans. So we got this first poster here, as an example, who is a vax-injured MAGA conservative. So they were injured by the vaccine, and they went anti-vax and right-wing. Liberals don't waste your time. I won't engage. Rhino removal project is going to change the landscape of primaries. No more rhinos, only hardcore Republicans. But trust me, guys, this guy became a MAGA conservative when he got vax-injured. He would never make that up. I'm old enough to remember when you investigated a crime to find a criminal. Arctic Frost is the epitome of investigating people to find a crime. I like how he doesn't even deny the existence of a crime. It's just, you can't investigate people and find a crime. That's not how you're supposed to do it. Mind you, that claim on its own, on its face, is false. This crap has to stop. The list of conservatives investigated is up to 160. In these people's minds, the big, Democrat scandal is the fact that under a Democrat, the DOJ saw fit to perform criminal investigations on over 160 Republicans that only had a stop put to it because Donald Trump forced that to stop before that said investigation could be completed. I don't know. This feels like cope. This feels like the Republicans trying to turn something that very much should be making them look bad into something that's supposed to make Biden and the left look bad. Here's another conservative. The storm has arrived. What's this guy's deal? Victory. Chuck Grassley and other Senate Republicans just held a press conference to release new information obtained through legally protected whistleblower disclosures about Arctic Frost. No whistleblower disclosures, by the way. These are literally just declassified documents from the DOJ that the Republicans now control. Jack Smith targeted over 400 Republicans and issued over 197 subpoenas. They do realize subpoena means a legal action and not like a bribe, right? Like these people are talking about a legal investigation into the crimes committed by their own party, like it's the crimes committed by their own party. Like it's that worthy of a scandal. He's talking about these subpoenas like they're the bribes Trump takes. It's crazy. Which targeted the Biden administration's enemies. Those subpoenas included, well, the Biden administration's enemies also happened to be the people who denied the fair results of the election and tried to overturn it illegally. That's kind of potato, though. Records related to Dan Scavino, Stephen Miller, Jared Kushner, and Lara Trump. God forbid any of those people be investigated. Yeah, rich, powerful people getting investigated by the government sounds corrupt to me. A subpoena to Apple seeking records for any member, employee of agent of the legislative branch. So, subpoenaing big tech companies is apparently evil now. Records relating to communications with CBS, Fox News, Fox Business, Newsmax, Sinclair, and others. Communications happened? Subpoenas seeking statistical data and analytics relating to Republican donors. Oh my god, they're looking for data. Grassley ended up saying Arctic Frost was the vehicle by which the FBI agents and DOJ prosecutors could improperly investigate the entire Republican apparatus. Okay, the AI that wrote this tweet really bugged out this time. They're just repeat typing words here. Like, has it ever been more obvious that an account is run by an AI? Send them straight to jail. Heads need to roll. That's right. Having your crimes investigated means the people investigating your crimes need to be sent to jail and their heads must roll. Definitely not something a criminal would say, or someone who is backing criminals would say. Bad bot.
So today, we're making public new records that I've obtained through legally protected whistleblower disclosures. 197 subpoenas were issued by Jack Smith and his team.
I guess, like, all the stuff that Jack Smith found in his previous investigations of Trump, just, these people couldn't bother to sweep it anymore, so now they're deciding to try and discredit it all, like, on its face, and go after the people who exposed their crimes with criminal action, try to, like, get them locked up for trying to investigate their crimes, as their job was to do in their positions in government.
These subpoenas were issued to 34 individuals and 163 businesses, including financial institutions.
Those poor businesses and financial institutions. These people, these old, powerful, rich men in suits are on stage telling the American people the Democrats were corrupt because they were performing criminal investigations of businesses and financial institutions. That's right, folks. You don't like corruption? Vote for the Republicans. They'll put a stop to all those pesky criminal investigations of those financial institutions. You know, the average American really loves financial institutions and trusts them. Does not believe they should ever be investigated for suspected criminal action.
And one of the points of contact on many of these subpoenas was that person I previously named Special Agent Walter Giardino.
Mind you, everything they're saying about the quote-unquote proper process of this is complete nonsense. If you so much as, like, are friends with someone who is getting investigated by the FBI, you might get an email or a letter in the mail that your private messages and texts have been pulled by the FBI for use in a court case. They won't specify whether or not you're the focus of said case, but more likely than not, if you haven't committed any crimes, it's because even tangentially, at some point online maybe, you spoke to someone who is currently under investigation and is a suspect by the FBI. And because of that, you're not a suspect, but you're a person of interest, technically, in the case. And that means you could be subpoenaed. That is to say, a legal request might be made for you to be, by court, required to provide certain requested information and evidence, and if you do not, or you try to destroy said evidence or spoliate it, you could be found in contempt of court, which is a crime that you would immediately be found guilty of if you did such a thing and were found to have done it in court. So, yeah, like the idea that subpoenaing these people and businesses was outside of the norm for how these federal investigations tend to operate is itself complete nonsense. The FBI in particular will literally subpoena and request like private logs between people even tangentially related to a suspect just to have as much data as they can get. This is not even close to unusual. This is the standard by the books way that you handle something like this, and all of these Republicans, mind you, were notified that they were being subpoenaed by the FBI or DOJ. None of them would have been unaware unless they don't read their mail or their email. They would have all been aware that they were getting subpoenaed. They would have all been aware that they were under some kind of investigation or were a person of interest in the FBI and DOJ's case. None of them would have been completely unaware, but they're all acting like behind the scenes, without their knowledge, they were being investigated to try and find crimes, right? Isn't it funny, by the way, that the same corrupt government that rigs elections has to stage investigations to find crimes rather than just making up crimes to accuse and convict these Republicans of? Well, I love that their logic is the corrupt Democrats who can rig election results have to do an investigation that isn't by the books, where they play dirty, to find evidence of a crime that they can go after Republicans with. What is this line of logic? Wouldn't the corrupt Democrats just not do any kind of investigation and just accuse the Republicans of these crimes and then convict on those grounds? If they were so supposedly corrupt, right? Their logic doesn't make sense. It's a corrupt investigation, a corrupt legal investigation against the guy we worship.
The subpoena requested records and communications related to over 430 individual and organizations. All of them appear to be aimed at Republicans. A subpoena.
Just so happens Republicans were also the ones who were backing the insurrection attempt on our Capitol a few years back.
To event strategies, requested records relating to Turning Point USA and the Republican Attorney General's Association. One subpoena to Apple sought records relating to Trump and the January 6th prison choir. Earlier this year, I obtained emails between and among J.P. Cooney, one of Jack Smith's prosecutors. That email exchange was March 2023 about a partisan news article on January 6th, and this is what Cooney said in the email.
By partisan, by the way, they mean it called January 6th an insurrection, which it was. Mind you, they went in there with weapons and with zip ties to take people hostage. Who remembers that one video of the one, like, Proud Boys looking guy jumping the, like, hopping over the seats in the Capitol building with zip ties, like a bundle of zip ties in his hand, like, and they're already, like, zipped for handcuffs. Like, all he has to do is tighten them once they're around someone's wrists and both their hands are cuffed behind their back. Like, he's got the handcuffing zip ties in his hand as he's searching the House floor. And these people claim it's partisan to call that an insurrection.
Can we do some work to nail down Trump's role in this, perhaps with the same process on Ed Henry's LLC, end quote. Just the next month, April 2023, Jack Smith and his team subpoenaed Apple for records relating to the very issue. A subpoena to an individual sought records and communications with, quote, any member, employee, or agent of the legislative branch.
Republicans really benefit so much from the fact that the vast majority of Americans don't know what a subpoena is. They don't know what the Department of Justice does, and they absolutely could not name the branches of the government. The Republicans benefit from these facts immensely. Because when you tell Americans this is some big scandal, and you've got all the big government people coming out to say this is some big scandal, and the Democratic Party was behind some kind of fraud or lying to the American people, they're probably going to believe it because most of them do not have any of the baseline knowledge to recognize the blatant bullshit in front of them, that the FBI and DOJ always do their investigations of literally anybody this way. This is as by the books as it gets, and now they're trying to claim that they're getting criminally investigated for the crimes they committed, and now that they're in power, they're putting a stop to those investigations so they can't be caught. They're trying to frame that as not only an attack on them, but a crime that they should now have the right to put those people in prison over.
Of government, end of quote.
It would be like if Al Capone got elected mayor and then ordered that all of the head investigators that were looking into him be arrested and locked up in maximum security prison. That is the equivalent of what we're seeing here, by the way.
Another subpoena to an individual sought records relating to communications with media companies such as CBS, Fox News, Fox Business, Newsmax, Sinclair, and others. Other subpoenas to a bank, individual, and businesses sought records relating to White House advisors Stephen Miller, Dan Scavino, Jared Kushner, and Lara Trump. Some subpoenas to individuals and businesses sought statistical data and analysis relating to donors and fundraising efforts. Arctic Frost.
Get this good old guy out of here. It's so ironic that Trump says, we're going to drain the swamp, and then he fills the government back up to the brim with old, decrepit, rich white guys. Back to normal.
Was the vehicle by which FBI agents and DOJ prosecutors.
Remember, it's important of any Republican administration that the vast majority of our elected representatives are old enough that any consequences of their bad policy, they'll probably not live to see. There's a reason why the most fervent green policy people are old as fuck and don't have longer than 10 years left on this earth. Because none of those people need to worry about climate change ruining their lives or destroying the earth while they're alive. So it's always people that are old as fuck that deny climate change. There's no stakes in it for them. It doesn't matter if climate change is real for them. It's the younger people who typically lean on believing it because they have skin in the game. It is important for Republicans to appoint old, crotchety ghouls that don't have long left. That way they know when they do evil shit like this, that they'll never live to see consequences. They'll never live to see justice.
Could improperly investigate the entire Republican political apparatus. Contrary to what Smith has said publicly, this was clearly a fishing expedition. If this had happened to Democrats, they'd be as rightly outraged as we are outraged.
It did happen to Democrats. It happened to Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. Do you know what they charged Hunter Biden with? They charged him with lying on his firearm acquisition form, on his ATF form, whatever the fuck, I forget what it's called. The form you have to fill out when you buy a gun. One of the questions on there is, have you ever used an illicit substance? That form, that particular question on the form, is known to be the most lied about question on any government form in the country. It is beyond overwhelmingly generally known that the vast majority of gun owners that have signed that form did in fact perjure themselves and lie when they said they did not ever in their lives take any kind of illicit substances, which would make you not allowed to use guns if you had at any point. But it is the most lied about form on the planet. Hunter Biden, like 99.9% of gun owners in America, lied on that form. That is what the Republicans got him with. I shit you not. That is the crime the Republicans managed to nail him with in the end. After all the investigation, after all the Biden laptop nonsense that's long since died off because there was nothing to it, that is what they got him with. They got him with the illegal possession of a firearm because he smokes weed. Mind you, when it comes to law enforcement, the vast majority of the time, and by that I mean like every fucking time, the only time that federal authorities actually press charges for that crime is as an addendum to a broader criminal investigation. So if they're trying to send the book at you, the fucking Santa naughty nice list of accusations or charges, one of them will probably be that one. But you're never going to have like the feds knock on your door for falsifying info in that form unless you happen to be Hunter Biden's son, who was the number one focus of the Republicans' attack campaign while Biden was president, because they had literally nothing on Biden. Like, all they would be able to do when talking about Biden would be talking about his policy, and that is the last thing the Republicans wanted to get in front of Americans' attention. If Americans paid attention to Biden's actual policy, the Democrats would be in office right now. So they couldn't attack Biden himself. There was nothing to attack him for. They attacked his son.
We're making these records public in the interest of transparency and so that the American people can draw their own conclusions.
The American people can draw their own conclusions. Well, judging by the average intelligence of Americans, I think we all know why the Republicans want America to draw their own conclusions. Of course, Alex Jones put out this tweet. We're not watching this whole thing, but we obviously have to watch a little bit of it. Alex Jones found out he was investigated by the DOJ in all of this, and he, of course, went on his big victim rant over this, claiming that he was being illegally investigated for a crime that he committed.
It is the evening of October 28th, 2025. And here at the InfoWars Embattled headquarters in Austin, Texas, we just learned that the House Judiciary Committee just released documents from the Arctic Frost criminal globalist dragnet against President Trump, that I was one of the central targets to be taken down, not just the U.S. senators. We're about to reveal this treasonous information right now.
Treasonous. So the fact that they're calling this treasonous definitely tells you they intend to start pushing for the death penalty for having been part of any criminal investigation into Trump or the Republican Party. Like, how much you want to bet we're like a month away from them calling for the death penalty for any government official who performed a criminal investigation into the Trump family?
Well, the head of the House Judiciary Committee just about an hour ago released documents he got from Senator Chuck Grassley's Judiciary Committee that proves that Jack Smith and the Democratic Party had a giant illegal dragnet in Operation Arctic Frost, not just on 9 U.S. senators and House members, not just on Trump, his family, and his lawyers, that's totally illegal, without even warrants, but on journalists like...
Does he not know what a subpoena is? The subpoena is a legal request for information. Getting a warrant is what you need to do to invade the privacy of an individual and take their private info. If you want to search their hard drive, or their phone, or their computer, or their literal house, that's what you need a warrant for. But you can subpoena, like, I don't know, Twitter, to get someone's Twitter logs, because it's not the person whose Twitter account that belongs to. It is not their private information, it's Twitter's information. When you want to get, like, logs from the source when doing a criminal investigation, you subpoena the company that hosts the chat. And that's what they did. That's not something you need a warrant for.
Alex Jones. In fact, I'm the only journalist listed on there, and they talk in the documents about how they couldn't get it through a subpoena because we blocked that, but they got my phone records through a civil lawsuit, which the Justice Department has already been caught previously running. Total, complete...
That civil lawsuit, by the way, was him getting bankrupted by the Sandy Hook parents that he claimed were crisis actors. He still maintains that the Sandy Hook shooting was fake, by the way. Dead children are his favorite thing to use for clout and political gain and money.
Violation of rights, conspiracy against rights, absolute violation of my civil rights. Incredible. So here's the Arctic Frost investigation, now being exposed by Senator Chuck Grassley, one of the biggest scandals in U.S. history. Biden FBI spied on 8, it's now 9 Republican senators as part of Arctic Frost investigation. Grassley oversight reveals. Merrick Garland, Chris Wray signed off on Arctic Frost probe. The targeted GOP group spied on senators, documents showed. And here are the new documents that have been released. And they say a lot more is coming. So much of it is blacked out. But when you get...
this is legitimately, like, to them, the most ground-shattering proof that the Republican voters, this is the most ground-shattering proof that the Democrats are evil. That they were, not that they, but that while Democrats were in office, the DOJ and FBI led criminal investigations into their actions and involvement in an attempted coup of our government on January 6th. This is why when people say, why are you Democrats obsessed with January 6th so much? It's because these people are still obsessed with January 6th. The Republicans will never let it go. That we investigated them. That we, as Americans, got many of them put in prison for trying to overturn the results of our votes. They are enraged that the American people and the American government tried to hold them accountable for their crimes, and now they are taking vengeance. And in their world, this is the most ground-shattering evidence that the Democrats were engaged in wrongdoing. Actually upholding the law and preventing corruption and preventing an attempt to overthrow our government. The Democrats just need to shut up about January 6th. But now that it's the Republicans calling for arrests of officials that did criminal investigations into their crimes, now it's time to talk about January 6th again. Now you're not deranged if you're talking about January 6th, as long as you're calling for federal investigators to be arrested and potentially to get the death penalty based on Alex Jones calling them treasonous. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it not a Nazi. That's a good one. That's a good one. I'm going to borrow that one if you don't mind. I hope you don't mind that. But yeah, the Republicans are very much trying to claim that this is the biggest scandal ever. Remember this? Adam Schiff is so nervous about Jack Smith being investigated. He's terrified. Schiff knows exactly what Jack Smith, Arctic Frost, and the J6 committee did. He knew what was hidden. Pam Bondi must make them pay. It all hinges on her. So, yeah, they're very big on this. They very much want to get everybody who is even somewhat involved in criminally investigating Trump and our government behind bars. They're on the lock her up train again, only this time it's lock them up. Everyone who tried to hold Trump accountable for his crimes. That's the thing. This is the thing that all those judges were afraid of. Trump and his fans were sending every judge that presided over his felony cases in the lead up to the 2024 election. They were getting death threats. They were forced to drop cases, or judges had to switch out because they were getting so many death threats. They would target the family members of the judges, and these judges knew that if they tried to throw the whole book at Trump and failed, it would mean serious retribution if Trump gets elected. And now we're seeing that retribution that they were all afraid of. Kind of makes sense why so many of those judges were so slap-on-wristy about it. The sad part is about it, though, that Trump won't care. Trump is still going to go after those judges that dared to make him go into a courtroom. He's going to go after them with the full extent of illegality. Not the law, not the full extent of the law, but the full extent of breaking the law. He is going to do everything he possibly can to illegally arrest and get these people executed. But yeah, I guess this is, to an extent, a pretty valid punishment for cowardice. You know, these investigators and this, like, J6 committee could have done more. They could have been far more bloodthirsty, far more brutal. There were plenty of judges that could have gotten Trump locked up ages ago, And they just weren't willing to push. They were too afraid to do so. And now exactly what they were afraid of has happened. And the fact that they were too afraid to go 100% means that it's not going to help them in any way. Trump isn't going to be reasonable. Trump isn't going to be like, oh, you know, you clearly just gave me a slap on the wrist. I don't really mind. No, he's going to have those judges arrested, as if they had tried their best to get him locked up. Deliver victory to the common man so we may sift through the wreckage of the rich and once again find reason. Good one, Walking Donut. Good one. Anyway, folks, with that said, if you enjoyed this video, if you found it entertaining, educational, or enjoyable in any way, then please consider leaving a like and a comment down below. It's totally free and really does support the stream immensely. It forces YouTube to push my stuff in the algorithm out to more people who haven't seen it before. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot. Thank you to all the likers and commenters. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon if you haven't already so that YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload new videos in the future. And make sure to follow my social medias, linked down below in the description. Of course, if you want to support me directly, financially, help a small streamer be able to afford to eat, because lefty content is not exactly viable anymore. Let's just say that. If you want to support a small lefty streamer, consider dropping a dono, leave a like, comment, gift a sub, all that good stuff. Y'all know what to do. I really do appreciate your support, regardless of what form you send it in. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you again next time.